Now, military experts says it's highly unrealistic to believe that any force could completely prevent disruption in the Strait of Hormuz during a conflict. In most serious war simulations, full control of the waterway is considered nearly impossible. Welcome to the program. Today's focus is strategy in the Iran conflict, what was planned, what may have been overlooked, and where things currently stand as tensions continue to evolve rapidly. Our guest, a geopolitical strategist who advises governments and major organizations using war simulations, explains that these models often predict crisis scenarios before they unfold. And in the case of Iran, many of the current developments were not surprising. Recently, President Donald Trump issued a 10-day deadline to Iran, signaling that the United States could take military action if no agreement is reached. While framed as a pause for diplomacy, it effectively sets the stage for either negotiations or escalation. According to analysts, this kind of deadline reflects Trump's broader approach, setting strong demands, observing the reaction, and then adjusting strategy. Unlike traditional policy planning, this method is less about long-term forecasting and more about immediate leverage. However, some of the justifications for the conflict are being questioned. Claims about extreme threats, such as unconventional nuclear attacks, have not been supported by clear evidence, according to several experts. Strategists also point out that previous Israeli approaches to Iran relied more on covert operations rather than direct, large-scale military action. The shift toward open conflict appears inconsistent with past tactics. Well, when it comes to Iran's response, experts say it was entirely predictable. For decades, Iran has prepared for the possibility of conflict, especially focusing on the strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz. In nearly every war simulation involving Iran, disruption of this key shipping route is expected. The waterway is one of the world's most critical energy corridors, making it a powerful neutral leverage in any confrontation. Analysts emphasize that Iran has spent decades preparing for exactly this type of scenario. Its strategy relies heavily on asymmetric warfare, using smaller, faster forces and indirect tactics to challenge stronger military powers. One of the most common tactics discussed in simulations is the use of swarm attacks, where multiple small units overwhelm larger, more advanced naval forces. Because of this, experts say it would be extremely difficult for the United States to fully secure the Strait of Hormuz, even with significant military resources deployed in the region. Some strategists argue that the most practical path forward for the U.S. may be to declare a limited victory and step back, rather than risk a prolonged and costly conflict. They warned that any attempt to regime change in Iran would require a massive ground operation involving hundreds of thousands of troops, something that could take years and carry enormous costs. Meanwhile, Iran has signaled that it could close the strait entirely, threatening global energy supplies and increasing pressure on international markets. There is also skepticism about the level of support the United States would receive from allies. European and NATO countries are likely to remain cautious, viewing this conflict as a distraction from other strategic priorities. Concerns about Iran's capabilities have also resurfaced, with some officials suggesting its reach may extend further than previously acknowledged. However, experts believe existing defense systems in Europe would likely intercept most threats. Another critical factor is the global oil market. If price rises significantly, it could create political pressure on Washington, though some strategists believe the U.S. is willing to absorb short-term economic pain for long-term strategic goals. Overall, some analysts view the current situation as a strategic miscalculation. They argue that previous policies were gradually weakening Iran's influence without triggering a large-scale conflict. Despite the escalation, experts say there is still a clear exit path. Both sides could claim a form of victory, the US for weakening Iran's capabilities and Iran for demonstrating its qudrat to disrupt global systems. In the end, the situation remains highly fluid, and the next moves could determine whether this conflict de-escalates or expands further.